Honorable Sumita Pula, Minister of Industrial Development, SMEs and Cooperative. Honorable Mrs. Kalpana Devi Kunjusha, Minister of Gender Equality and Family Welfare. FCM President Marika Sinugli, CONFEP CEO Mrs. Ruth Nigash. Members of the diplomatic and consular corps, heads and officials representing public and private sectors, EMFC President Rima Ramsaran, and fellow members, FCM members, members of the press, a warm welcome to you all. My apologies. The Honorable Pravin Jagat, Prime Minister of the Republic of Mauritius, everyone. I am Trinidad, currently the Vice President of the Association, and I'm honored to welcome you to this World Conference event. We are grateful for having been given the opportunity for the third time to welcome this worldwide delegation of women entrepreneurs in our paradise island of Mauritius. Without further ado, please welcome our dynamic President, Rima Ramsaran, for her speech.
It is an enormous privilege for me as the current President to welcome you officially on behalf of AMFC, the Association Mauricienne des Femmes Chefs d'Entreprise, this morning. Today is indeed a great day for us within AMFC. We are reliving the thrill of the FCEM meeting in Mauritius after 11 long years. And all the hard work, the stress, the constraints seems meaningless now as we embrace this moment and infuse ourselves with the joy of meeting, educating, growing, and sharing with the amazing FCEM family. AMFC is indeed very proud of its heritage, or should I say lineage, with FCEM. We, AMFC, exist since 1986, and we were created at a time when the term entrepreneurship and much less head of businesses were hardly coined with women. And I'm really proud today to be holding the AMFC flag at a time when women entrepreneurship, having gone through enormous pressure and challenges, COVID obliged, is not only showing amazing resilience, but is experiencing a fundamental transformation, with women setting their foot into economic sectors traditionally reserved for men and leaving their indelible footprints in pioneering sectors of this millennium. AMFC has been part of this global family since 1999-2000, thanks to our past president, Aline Wong, and we are still slowly but surely making our way in this global network. This is the third time since our adhesion that FCEM has trusted us with the World Committee after 2003 and 2011, a testimony of the confidence and consideration that FCEM has in us. These yearly meetings provide an interesting forum to strengthen collaborations and business opportunities between countries, but more importantly, to increase global networking. Such events further add to the possibilities of promoting member countries within the network, attract foreign investment, and provide international visibility to strengthen the global positioning of the host country. And we're extremely honored to be showcasing Mauritius to our international network during this event, both formally and informally. Each and every aspect of this international meeting has been carefully and thoroughly thought about and has an important meaning and bearing. Our culture, our folklore, our multicultural reality, and our ethnic heritage will be showcased, and above all, our women entrepreneurs will be promoted and provided a structure to promote global business venture. And as opportunities never come alone, the FCEM 2022 event brings yet another celebration in its wake. We're extremely honored to announce and celebrate our adhesion to the COMESA Federation of Women in Business Family since October 2021. ComFweb adds yet another important milestone to AMFC. Beyond our local presence in both Mauritius and Rodrigues, and our international presence through FCEM, ComFweb bridges the gap between the local and the global and adds a regional dimension to AMFC that can only strengthen its presence and visibility throughout. And as we say, 1 + 1 makes more than 2. The FCEM International Conference in Mauritius will seal the collaboration between FCEM and COMFWEB through an MOU which is being signed between the two, proof of a commitment to make the African continent and the Indian Ocean Islands more visible in FCEM. AMFC is therefore taking the lead to integrate the individual countries represented in COMFWEB to feature in FCEM so that COMFWEB countries are also able to take advantage of this international framework. And it is with this mission in mind that we have dared embark on this collaboration. Let's be realistic. If you want to promote entrepreneurship, we need to create the necessary space for our entrepreneurs to develop and flourish, and that inevitably implies ensuring that there is a market to absorb our entrepreneurs' products, and this market is global. So in these difficult COVID circumstances, if we're able to create just one small market opening for our entrepreneurs, we would have contributed our fair share and taken a giant leap forward, as the multiplier effect would only ensure that others follow suit. And we would like to express our heartiest gratitude to both FCEM and COMFWEB for the trust and belief placed in us, AMFC, to make this happen. We do not have so many resources, whether it's in terms of funding, manpower, or time. But what we have in abundance is devotion and commitment to our cause. Our hard work has opened up the way for so much more than I, as the current president, have ever ambitioned. And I'd like to especially mention the amazing executive team of AMFC, which is so supportive and always covering my back. The past presidents for always being there for advice and clarity of perspective, but especially the AMFC members who believe in this executive team and are always present to collaborate and celebrate with us. Thank you all. Our heartiest gratitude also goes to our sponsors. I don't really like that term, so I'll use collaborators instead. We've had enormous support from key players of the Mauritian economy who have responded very constructively and positively to our request. And I'd like to especially mention, amongst others, the MCB, our long-standing partner on the Business Without Border program, and two new additions on the way, the Rogers Group and the Currency, both references in their initiatives towards economic empowerment of women. We are sincerely hoping that, just like MCB, these two new partners will ensure their collaborations with AMFC beyond this FCM meeting. And not to forget our institutional partners, the Economic Development Board, Air Mauritius, and the Mauritius Tourism Promotion Agency. And last but not least, the US Embassy and the Australian Embassy, our partners on various projects and are also collaborators on the FCM event. And to all women and entrepreneurs who have had the privilege of joining us on this program, my message to you this morning is very simple. Entrepreneurship can be a very lonely world, especially for women. And let's be realistic, the local market is never big enough, especially for us in Mauritius. The number of entrepreneurs is increasing day by day due to COVID. At some point, there will inevitably be an excess of supply over demand. And this is when thinking beyond local is vital. The market is out there, go out and seize it. However, this global market is not an easy path to tread in. We have our own ways of doing business in our respective countries, that's for sure. In Mauritius, for example, many customers come from recommendation. Somewhere, somehow, there's always someone to bail us out and assist when things get rough. But we now need to tread into the unknown, the world, and out of our comfort zone. The road will be bumpy, failures inevitable, financial implications considerable, yet acquiring one small market opening will be a catalyst, bringing in its way a ripple effect that is unrivaled. And bear in mind that time will never be appropriate for this leap. You must go out and make that time ripe for you, and that time is now. That is the leap of faith. Allow me to end on these words borrowed from Tim Ferriss. The stars will never align, and the traffic lights of life will never all be green at the same time. The universe doesn't conspire against you, but it doesn't go out of its way to line up the pins either. Conditions are never perfect. Someday is a disease that will take your dreams to the grave with you. Pro and cons lists are just as bad. If it's important to you and you want to do it eventually, Just do it now and correct course along the way. And that for me is a very powerful message that I want to pass on to you today. Thank you very much for your attention. Over to you, Trini.
I'm particularly happy to be here finally, to have finally the possibility to be here for our World Committee meeting here in Mauritius. As we promised, we are there. A meeting that had to be postponed twice due to this pandemic. A big thank you to the Mauritian Association of Women Entrepreneurs who are hosting us, and to its president, Rima Hamsaran, to the past presidents that we know are behind you all the time, and your team, who have been working so hard to offer us this wonderful welcome. Being in Mauritius today makes all the more sense, as the territory perfectly illustrates the reflections that will be at the heart of our work over the next few days and years. Indeed, Mauritius is already suffering the consequences of global warming, with the fear of seeing the disappearance of all beaches due to rising waters in 50 years if nothing is done. This is a major economic issue in a country that depends on tourism and where 20% of the population lives in coastal area. The country is also committed to the development of circular economy as a pillar of a more livable future. Because the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change has just reminded us forcefully that we have only 3 years left to act and avoid the worst. Act. By transforming our economic models in favor of production methods that are more respectful of resources and emit less greenhouse gases. In an attempt to limit warming to 1.5 degrees, even so the current warming of 1 degree already makes half of humanity very vulnerable, hit by increasing heat waves, drought, storms and floods. Avoiding the worst. For instance, warming of 3.2 degrees by the end of the century, if we do not reinforce current policies. We are therefore at a turning point which we must approach with the conviction that it is still possible to change the course of events through determined action and broad international cooperation that will allow us to learn from each other's experiences. The IPCC experts have underlined the considerable progress that has been made in the field of renewable energy since 2010. In particular, the sustained reduction of up to 85% in the cost of solar and wind energy of batteries. In this search for new models and new perspectives, the circular economy is one of the most interesting avenues. In contrast to the so-called linear economy, which consists of extracting, manufacturing, consuming, and throwing away, the circular economy aims to limit the waste of natural resources by rethinking production and consumption methods. It thus provides concrete answers to two major challenges that our society is facing today. Satisfying growing consumption needs despite finite resource of primary materials. Reducing the damage caused to the community, such as pollution or waste disposal. For our companies, the circular economy offers a number of advantages. By reducing costs through reuse, which allows us to develop more sustainable production logistics while offering competitive products and services. Benefiting from a sustainable supply via renewable raw materials. Generating value by moving to an economy of functionalities that respond to real needs of people through reuse or repair, anticipating future regulatory or economic constraints, notably through reconditioning and recycling. The Ellen MacArthur Foundation has calculated for European markets that each cell phone with eco-design to simplify the reconditioning and the reuse of their most expensive components, this would improve the European trade balance by nearly 2 billion euros. More efficient use of resources will become an increasingly important factor in competitiveness and sustainable growth, such as extending the life of products to maximize the value of materials and their use in the economic system. According to the International Resource Panel, an international group of experts on resources attached to the UN, resource efficiency and circularity can enable a 27% increase in global resource productivity by 2060, and a doubling of average GDP per person. In addition, economic growth is boosted by 8% compared to business as usual, and the short-term economic costs of moving to 1.5 degrees climate trajectory are offset. As a result, global GDP in 2060 would be 8% higher than historical trends for the period 2015-2060. And economic growth would increase by an average of 11% in low and middle income countries and 4% in high income countries. For its part, European Union, as part of the Green Deal, aims to create a minimum of 700,000 jobs in the circular economy by 2030. The transition to a more circular economy on a global scale will need to benefit from the development of new common standards, encouraging business models, goods, technologies, and services that meet this logic. Dialogue and cooperation between countries can help make procurement and production processes, waste, hierarchy and management, and the use and standardization of secondary raw material more efficient. In this regard, the platform for accelerating the circular economy, launched in 2018 by the World Economic Forum, which is based on a public-private partnership to drive system change quickly and on a large scale, can be a key tool. Indeed, it helps to develop mixed financial models for the implementation of projects, especially in emerging economies, and contributes to the creation of strategic framework, allowing the emergence of favorable conditions for the transition to a circular economy. Numerous projects are being set up around the world on all continents, demonstrating people's appetite for these new economic models. The transition of our ecosystem is no longer in doubt for anyone, and is taking on a singular importance with the increase in the cost of raw materials, energy prices, and transportation of goods, which was initiated by the pandemic and reinforced in recent weeks by the war in Ukraine. Here in Mauritius, which was one of the first states to sign the Paris Agreement, government had launched an ambitious national program to reduce its greenhouse gas emission by 30% by 2030. This includes aligning local law with international standards into this area. The Mauritius Chamber of Commerce and Industry is working with private sector to create the right condition for the transition to a circular economy. In March, it presented a roadmap for a plastic waste-free Mauritius, which includes an action plan, realistic deadline, cost implication, and an assessment for the impact of food safety on consumers. Between 2018 and 2020, the company has distributed more than 1 million meals to local NGOs. And there are many more examples, like Le Vélo Vert, an association founded in 2012 by Géraldine Dugnanville, which helps support agroecology across the island. Because women are often on the forefront in this field, like in Uganda, where 80% of the activity related to waste collection and recycling is the result of women, according to African Development Bank. In Latin America, their initiative have allowed the emergence of a real economy of recovery in the last 10 years, as highlighted by the 17th Plenary Assembly of Para-Americas, which was held in November 2020 and brings together the parliaments of the American continent. At its level, our network can be a powerful relay of this model that must inspire our ecological transition while preserving growth that creates wealth and well-being for all. So let us seize this opportunity, which is a chance for our companies to preserve sustainable growth in a more harmonious world. Thank you.
It's my great pleasure to be part of this crucial occasion in this beautiful COMESA nation of Mauritius to establish an active Conférence chapter. In our COMESA Federation of Women Business calendar of 2022, this activity marks as an important and top strategic priority deliverable, which is in part of the 2021 to 2025 COMESA medium-term strategic plan. As our first strategic priority is to strengthen the COMESA Federations of Women in Business institutional capacity in the member states. First and foremost, I wish to thank His Excellency, the Prime Minister of the Republic of Mauritius, for finding this time and this morning in your very busy schedule to grace our auspicious event. This reflects your personal and indeed the government of Mauritius commitment in advancing the plight of women in business agenda. I wish to thank you also for all the prominent persons present here this morning from a variety of institutions, businesses, and for being supportive in the matters of COMESA regional integration agenda in general and the advancement of the global women in business activities in particular. I also want to express my deepest appreciation to the chair of MFCE and CFEM for organizing and staying the course to work diligently and professionally as I participated with you throughout this year to make sure that this has been a dedicated national agenda for the umbrella association for the nation, and also to make sure that this gets support and gets promoted all the activities of women businesses and sectors in Mauritian women. Your Excellency, COMESA recognizes the critical role of women play in moving their national economies through viable entrepreneurship and empowering women, creating jobs, boosting inclusive economic growth, and alleviating poverty, leading them into prosperity with relevant value-added programs. The founding Pan-African fathers and the COMESA member states agreed that women make significant contribution towards the process of socio-economic transformation and sustainable economies in the year 1993. And they created this institution with the agreement that it's impossible to implement effective programs that impact their societies without the full participation of women. Chapter 24 of the COMESA Treaty outlines the interventions focused on women in development and business. It's important to note that these roles of women is also recognized at the African Union level and Vision of Africa expressed in Agenda 2063, which foresees Africa, an Africa whose development is people-driven, especially relying on the potential offered by its women and youth. Under this vision, it's highly envisaged that there will be greater gender equality in all spheres of life and engaged, empowered youth. Your Excellency, we are convinced that the women entrepreneurs in this country and the region can drive the economic growth as we have seen in the COVID-19 lockdown times. Women rose up in partnership with businesses and government and civil societies to improve their opportunities and come with innovative outcomes in the global value chains. And this is what is Launching Conference is about today. To build this momentum, to support an advocacy around women entrepreneurship, COMESA has developed a gender policy and mainstreamed women and youth in all our programs and initiatives. Also, we are implementing initiatives which galvanize support for public policy reforms and private sector actions that promote women's entrepreneurship and access to markets across the COMESA region and globally. Ladies and gentlemen, we remain firm in the conviction that in this digital era, nations that offer affordable and good infrastructure to better access to technology and online platforms and good infrastructure to make sure that everyone has access to them can play a powerful role in helping women entrepreneurs access finance, market their goods and services, and get valuable information to stay competitive in the national, regional, and global markets. ICT and smartphones are creating an equal platform across and haves and have-nots, as African communities are overcoming language and literacy barriers by using voice and image functions to promote their businesses, creating linkages, market their products, and conduct day-to-day business activities. This has also opened doors to innovative and simpler value chains as entrepreneurs and home mothers, the disabled, the unskilled, and marginalized groups within our societies are now entering the business world. As we head towards the borderless trading of the AFCFTA, the African Continental Free Trade Area, many COMESA member states are opening their borders, easing their trade barriers, easier access to visa, timely COVID-19 procedures, communications, increasing projects to provide access to energy and better IT infrastructure for their marginalized citizens. Your Excellency, in order to increase the competitiveness of women in your private sector and Mauritius, CONFIB is also supporting the capacity building of our chapters with the entrepreneurship of the EU Development Fund, named Regional Enterprise Competitiveness and Access to Markets Program, RECAMP. The RECAMP aims in contributing to increase private sector participation in regional and global value chains, and our MFCE, as brand new before it's even launching, has implemented this activity, and many women have taken advantage of this and have been linked with the rest of COMESA chapters. So CONFIB Mauritius chapter has benefited and by providing technical services, advisory services for SMEs with the aim of improving their business management performance, enhance their financial literacy for trade, and create better coordination amongst SMEs, investors, and other value chain players. This association has existed since 1986. However, Your Honor, Your Excellency, it still struggles to have an office space to function as a normal regional body in its duties. As we upscale the mandate of MFCE into our chapter for the nation, we also are looking to your collaboration and support in making sure that this regional body is adapted, rebranded to include the whole regional entity as CONFIB Mauritius chapter, and we look forward to close partnership with the government of Mauritius through Cooperating Ministry of COMESA to support the chapter acquire its required office space in the short term, then mobilize resources to establish the headquarters business complex, which will sustain itself and be able to serve all the countries, all the women in the country to be participants in the national economic development. This headquarters will also be the central place for all Mauritius businesswomen, micro, small, medium, and large businesses of all sectors to be organized in a central place where they can build their capacities, formalize, link to uplift each other, upskill their businesses through mergers, pay taxes, conduct audits, in general, formalize their businesses and activities to become and stay competitive and be visible in the regional and global markets. Your Excellency, allow me to say it my utmost delight and honor on behalf of our board members and the chapters in the 21 COMESA member states to recognize our sisters in CFEM and MFCE as we sign a memorandum of understanding to work together. Today, we will expand market opportunities, a platform to share authentic creativity and innovations of our global women in business. This MOU will fulfill the mandate in the Charter of CONFIB, Article 18, stating that our federation may become a member of a sub-regional, regional, or international organization whose objectives are directly related and would be an added value to the objectives of the federation. In my heart, I truly believe there's an added value for this collaboration and signing this MOU this morning. In this historical day, I also want to mark a milestone for CFEM members in general, COMESA businesswomen in particular. The state of Mauritius should feel very proud to host this momentous global occasion, as we have worked tirelessly for almost a year to align our mandates, objectives, and complement each other's efforts for the benefits of our women economic empowerment agenda. We are prepared to form a tripartite partnership at our regional secretariat level in Malawi, as headquarters is for us, that will open doors for our members of the other 20 member states, programs, services that will help to advance their businesses while adding value to their national economies. This week is an exemplary demonstration of the capabilities of our COMESA Federation of Women in Business Mauritius chapter, as they host us and showcase their nation while the support of the economy through tourism industry. We look forward for more bazaars, trade markets and trade shows, and market linkages across the region as we invite the global community for these activities. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, I want to assure you that COMESA Federation of Women in Business is committed to continue providing support for the advancement of women in business agenda and in Mauritius and the rest of the member states. I also wish to sincerely appreciate the commitment and support from the government of Mauritius to advance the women in business agenda and COMESA regional integration agenda, and together we go far. Thank you and God bless you.
It gives me great pleasure to join you this morning for the launching of the Femmes Chefs d'Entreprise Mondiales World Committee meeting. Allow me to thank the Femmes Chefs d'Entreprise Mondiales for uniting women business owners from the world over and for choosing to hold their World Committee meeting in Mauritius for the third time. I am also thankful to the Association Mauricienne des Femmes Chefs d'Entreprise for hosting this meeting and for inviting me to be part of this very important event. I seize this opportunity to congratulate the Association Mauricienne des Femmes Chefs d'Entreprise, which has been appointed to represent the COMESA Federation of Women in Business Mauritius chapter. This partnership will no doubt help the association to consolidate its imprints in the region and on the international scene. The women entrepreneurs gathered here in Mauritius and virtually from around the world will be discussing women's involvement in areas like the circular economy, climate change and sustainability, digital marketplaces, and regional and global networking, all of which I consider to be among the world's most pressing challenges currently. Ladies and gentlemen, I still recall that during my school days, there was this topic which often came for discussion: women's place is at home. This topic has become obsolete in a world where policies, societal changes, and the determination of one and all have led to equal rights and opportunities to girls and women. Indeed, we now look forward to seeing women going beyond what society expects of them and actively participating in the economic and social development of the country and being agents of change in our society. The economic empowerment of women is at the heart of various policies that we have adopted in Mauritius. Our government program of 2020-2024 paved the way for a society where gender equality is adhered to, ensuring fairness and equity among all, as well as the human and social development of women in Mauritius. Our country is fully engaged in following through commitments to attain Sustainable Development Goals 2030, including SDG 5, which aims to achieve gender equality by ending all forms of discrimination, violence, and any harmful practices against women and girls. Ladies and gentlemen, progress towards workplace gender equality in the public sector is remarkable in Mauritius. In 2020, the proportion of women in the most senior positions, Senior Chief Executive, Permanent Secretary, Deputy Permanent Secretary, Director, Manager, Judge, and Magistrate, was 39.7%. By contrast, as per a recent study, only 5% of CEOs globally are women. In Mauritius, only 12% of working women were heads of business in 2020. There is a need to make a case for gender equality in the private sector. There were some 100,500 women in employment in small and medium enterprises in Mauritius, compared to some 229,500 men, representing 30% of labor force in small and medium enterprises. So it is my sincere wish that the percentage of women in CEO positions and the percentage of women-owned and managed enterprises increase in the near future. We have always stood shoulder to shoulder with the business community in times of difficulty. Our people and our economy were severely affected when we were first hit by the COVID-19 pandemic. Various businesses, especially SMEs, had to face very harsh times, with those of the tourism sector almost coming to a halt. We came up with several measures to support livelihoods and relieve the financial burden of enterprises, of course, as much as we could. We gave special attention to women as they face more hurdles to access finance to their businesses. We are providing the necessary funding to SME Mauritius Limited to run various schemes for the benefit of SMEs. These support schemes relate to internal capability development, acquisition of new technologies and innovation, market access and competitiveness, as well as networking. About 60% of the beneficiaries of the schemes run by SME Mauritius Limited are women. Ladies and gentlemen, the whole world is being impacted by the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Freight cost of raw materials, and commodity prices are rising, and supply chains are being severely disrupted on a global scale. We are in Mauritius holding consultations with all walks of society, including, of course, the business community, to fully understand their difficulties, challenges, and their needs, and take on board their proposals. This time again, we will come up with the appropriate measures to support SMEs and the business community, and hopefully bring the necessary relief to society. We are leveraging economic diplomacy to reach new markets, to create new opportunities for the business community. We are party to various trade negotiations where trade barriers are being eliminated. We are signatory to major multilateral and bilateral trade agreements. With the Free Trade Area Agreement signed with China, effective since January 2021, we have access to a market of about 1.45 billion people. The Comprehensive Economic Cooperation and Partnership Agreement signed with India opens up access to a market of about 1.4 billion people. We also signed the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, which is the world's largest free trade area, providing access to a market of around 1.2 billion people. Mauritius is a member state of the Eastern and Southern Africa Community, which has signed an economic partnership agreement with the United Kingdom. Of course, we have COMESA as well. We are opening up a world of opportunities to the business community, and we hope that these opportunities are seized. We are living in a fast evolving digital era where we need to be connected to the global community. During this international event, we will be holding discussions on digital marketplaces and conduct business-to-business sessions and further develop regional and global networking. I encourage you in these actions. Ladies and gentlemen, you will be holding discussions on climate change impacts, and you will be promoting sustainability and circular economy and green economy practices. My government has pledged to reduce our dependency on fossil fuels, to reduce our carbon emissions, and increase our share of renewable energy to 60% by 2030. We endorse the Paris Declaration and the Glasgow Climate Pact and will honor the commitments that we have made. And I take this opportunity to make an appeal to all businesses and to you, women business leaders, to make sustainability a must in your business, financial, and environmental models. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you to all women entrepreneurs for their active contribution to our economy. Your journey to where you are today must have been a long and difficult one. It takes courage, it takes time, it requires sacrifices to have achieved this. You are the change that all societies need. With these words, I now declare the Femmes Chefs d'Entreprise Mondiale World Committee meeting open. Thank you.